Hello. People's attitude to the earth, the way they think about the creation and how they behave towards it, gets right to the moral centre, I think. And you can see this in image after image in C.S. Lewis's stories. I talk about it a bit in last week's video. Even in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, the way the witch's winter chains the land in snow and ice and prevents the natural progression of the seasons and the natural flow of the rivers and so on, is a crime against the land itself. And it issues from the witch's heart of ice. It's an evil thing. In Prince Caspian, the usurper, King Miraz, lets the forest spread uncontrolled to the south and east and promotes it to the Telmarines as a place not of joyous moonlight dances and summer festivals like Mr. Tumnus delights in, but as a place of ghosts and fear, as a sort of social control mechanism. As well, the invaders make their forest clearances and pollute the waterways, problems not unknown to us today. Since the humans came into the land, felling forests and defiling streams, the dryads and naiads have sunk into a deep sleep, says Truffle Hunter the Badger. In the last battle, King Tyrion's face turns white when he sees that what the Calamines are doing to the most sacred of Narnian woodlands, Lantern Waste. It says right through the middle of that ancient forest, that forest where the trees of gold and of silver had once grown, and where a child from our world had once planted the tree of protection, a broad lane had already been opened. It was a hideous lane, like a raw gash in the land, full of muddy ruts where felled trees had been dragged down to the river. This ugly scarring of the land is the beginning of apocalypse in the book. It reflects the soul of the brutal, joyless new regime in Narnia. One of the first pictures in the book is Pauline Bain's haunting image of the dryad of the beech tree, pleading for help just before she too is slaughtered. 40 other great talking trees, she says, are already dead. And then, gasped the dryad, shuddering as if in pain, shuddering time after time as if under repeated blows. Then all at once she fell sideways, as suddenly as if both her feet had been cut from under her. For a second they saw her lying dead on the grass, and then she vanished. They knew what had happened. Her tree, miles away, had been cut down. For a moment the king's grief and anger were so great that he could not speak. The god Tash, embodiment of evil, withers the grass under his feet when he passes by in the same book. And the ape Shift wants to build roads and cities everywhere. I suppose the extreme of all this in the Narnia stories is in The Magician's Nephew, when Jadis has brought death to a whole world, so that in the great city of Charn, with its dead, cold, empty silence, and only the odd dead plant, and no weeds even between the stones, there's not even an ant, not a spider, or any of the other living things you expect to see in a ruin. It's the antithesis of the fresh, growing, lovely young green world that Aslan sings into being a few chapters later. In Charn, the riverbed is empty of water. There was now only a wide ditch of grey dust, it says. The thing that represents life and freshness and cleansing is removed from the town. Jadis has spoken a word which, if spoken with the proper ceremonies, would destroy all living things except the one who spoke it. Later on, Aslan gives a warning to Polly and Diggory that our own precious world is leaning the same way as Jadis's world, which by the end of the book has come to an end, as though it had never been. Polly added, "But we're not quite as bad as that world, are we, Aslan?" "Not yet, daughter of Eve," he said, "not yet, but you are growing more like it. It's not certain that some wicked one of your race will not find out a secret as evil as the deplorable word and use it to destroy all living things. And soon, very soon, before you're an old man and an old woman, great nations in your world will be ruled by tyrants who care no more for joy and justice and mercy than the Empress Jadis. Let your world beware." And there you see how the fate of the creation is linked to wickedness and tyranny and the destruction of all living things. There's a very great devastation of the land in That Hideous Strength, the third of the space trilogy. Outside of Bracton College in Edgestowe, the NICE, which is short for National Institute of Coordinated Experiments, are converting an ancient woodland into an inferno of mud and noise and steel and concrete. The fellows in the common room of the 300-year-old college, could be Oxford, they have to shout to be heard above the shouts and curses and the sound of lorries heavily drumming past or harshly changing gear, rattling of chains, drumming of mechanical drills, clanging of iron, whistles, thuddings, and an all-pervasive vibration. And the once beautiful River Wynd is now polluted with the detritus of industry. The river itself, which had once been brownish green and amber and smooth-skinned silver, tugging at the reeds and playing with the red roots, now flowed opaque, thick with mud, sailed on by endless fleets of empty tins, sheets of paper, cigarette ends and fragments of wood, sometimes varied by rainbow patches of oil. In fact, they want to divert the river. There was to be no river in Edgestowe, which carries an ominous symbolism. Ironically, one of the scientists of the NICE dreams of sterilising the earth, disinfecting it of all so-called dirt. Artificial trees would be so much cleaner. So all told, it seems like a callousness and insensitiveness towards the earth accompanies the wicked in Lewis's fiction. But even Edmund, who at first also wants to build some decent roads across Narnia, remember in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, a bit like Shift the Ape does, he starts to enjoy the first flowers and the bird life of the lovely spring that comes when the witch's evil winter begins to thaw. And it's fair to say that the good characters in Narnia are often seen to interact delightedly with nature. All in all, it's a reminder for us to look with love and gratitude on the earth and resist the evils of exploitation.